Minutes away from landing in Florida, and everything seems to be working quite well. They're past the point of difficulty with the gouge on the thermal tile. Can we listen to this for just a moment?
Your go for late shoot for the crosswind DTO.
Copy, late shoot.
And Endeavour, you can transfer the state vector to the backup.
Just over 5 minutes to touchdown. Endeavour flying at 900 miles per hour at an altitude of 63,000 feet, or about 11 statute miles.
All right, there you see it, the Space Shuttle Endeavour on final approach about 5 minutes from now. So let's go to our astronaut, Tom Jones, Fox contributor. As you're watching this, what do you see? What's going on?
Well, they're heading towards a point over the runway there, Greg, where they'll spiral downwards in a tight right turn to line up with the runway, runway 15 at Kennedy Space Center. And so they haven't taken over manual control just yet, but they're just about to as they drop below supersonic speed. Here's the view out the pilot's window. This is the heads-up display, and on the right you'll see the altitude, on the left the airspeed. This is a tool to enable the pilots to look right out at their landing site without having to look down at the instrument gauges.
And again, no engines here, Tom, right?
It's actually rather loud inside the cockpit right now. There's a lot of rumbling going on. It's like going down a dirt road in a big bread truck at about 40 or 50 miles an hour. And a lot of shaking from that non-streamlined airplane. But it does fly roughly like the big KC-135 transport that the crews train in to get some experience in heavy airplanes. So they're familiar with this, and their constant training in the shuttle training airplane, which replicates the orbiter's performance, gives them a good idea of what to expect.
Yeah, I mean, I think they said 900 miles per hour a moment ago, and you said it's shaking pretty violently. That was a sonic boom, I believe, that we heard just a moment ago, wasn't it?
You get a couple of big bangs there as the shuttle arrives in the Cape area, and underneath the shuttle's flight path, all the way from Miami up to the Cape on today's landing, people have been hearing that double sonic boom as the shuttle passes overhead.
All right, let's listen now into Kennedy Space Center, Cape Canaveral, as well as Houston Control and the crew. Let's listen in.
Endeavour is flying around the imaginary heading alignment circle. Just under 3 minutes to touchdown. Endeavour flying at an altitude of 28,000 feet at 500 miles per hour.
Endeavour, on at the 180.
On at the 180.
Tom, if you're still with me, there's a pause here which affords me the chance to ask you this. If it's shaking that much at that speed, now about 500 miles per hour.
Endeavour, on at the 90.
How do they take over manual control if the aircraft is shaking so
Endeavour
violently?
continuing around the heading alignment circle.
Greg, I think you've felt the same kind of turbulence on a hot day in Florida going into Orlando, for example. So it's not something that you can't fly through. It's just a steady vibration and roar of the wind by the cabin. And it's actually, for an airplane pilot, it's a good feeling to be back in the atmosphere and out of the silence of orbit.
Houston copies.
You've flown on the Endeavour, haven't you?
A couple of times. Both times we were supposed to go to Florida, but bad weather sent us to California. So I'm glad my friends will be landing there with their families waiting at the end of the runway today.
Let's listen in now to NASA.
To the onboard computers and the cockpit instruments. 1 minute and 20 seconds to touchdown. Endeavour's on path for the targeted landing at the Kennedy Space Center. 1 minute to touchdown. Endeavour's descent rate is 20 times higher and 7 times steeper than a commercial airliner on this final approach to the Kennedy Space Center landing facility. The landing gear is down and locked. Main gear touchdown. Nose gear touchdown. Deploying of the drag chute delayed to assess the conditions of the crosswinds on the orbiter as it rolls out on the runway 15 at the Kennedy Space Center, wrapping up a nearly 5.3 million mile mission. Endeavour returning the first educator mission specialist Barbara Morgan to Earth to begin the next step in her journey to inspire future generations to explore, learn, and build a better future.
Roger, wheel stop, Endeavour. Congratulations, welcome home. You've given a new meaning to higher education.